After the round of Japan, the officials saw fit not to penalize the Volpe racing team for Zaktov's mysterious mechanical failure. However, the main complaint going into Australia was that the officials decided to bring the same tyre compounds that they brought to the track near Sydney here to the Barbagallo Raceway in Western Australia, and the left side tyres were wearing way too fast. I, of course, qualified for this race, and I can attest to that, and the left side tyres are weighing way too much, making passing on track a little bit difficult. With that being said, Dan, off to you. Thank you, Lance. The Delano Pole Award goes to Leonard Roderick in car number 4, the Flash Racing Inglesby. Roderick on pole, you see Adrian Devereaux, the rookie, on the outside of the front row, going into turn 1. It's a wide right-hand turn. Devereaux is going to have the advantage, and kind of wonder whether or not the poleman should be at a disadvantage going into turn 1, but the fact remains Roderick did not get a very good start. Devereaux did, and Devereaux sweeps around Roderick, and he's going to hold on to the lead. Roderick's going to lose second here to Drew Eisenman in the 31. Of course, there were some shenanigans at the back of the field. Stan Rosenstretter in the 38, a driver who a lot of people have expected a lot more from this year. He hasn't had a very good start to the year, and he's just going to compound his errors there by running into the wall. Looks like the field just stacks up behind, looks like the 28 of Duff, who didn't get a very good start off the line, and the accordion effect shoves Rosie off the track. Rosenstretter needs to pick up the pace. He failed to qualify for Japan, and he's already behind the 8 ball here in Australia. Devereaux, in the meantime, is pulling out a very substantial lead over Eisenman and Roderick, who are both very closely bunched. Devereaux's chaotic driving style appears to have matched the very questionable tire compounds this weekend. He has been very quick in all of the practice sessions, much to the surprise of many fans of the series. Here we go a little further back in the field. There's Franz Redlich in the blue number 2. He's going to get a little bump from behind by Kurt Pliskin in the 16, bounce into Lance Andrews in the 444 car. And Redlich keeps the car going through the grass. However, Andrews spins out. We're going to have another look here with Lance Andrews, who is usually in the booth with me this week. Or usually is in the booth with me for all the Master Cup races, play-by-play. This week I had Bill Armand in the booth. There goes Andrews spinning out into the grass, I almost called it sand. A little too green to be sand. And he drops all the way to last. He's going to be running a few other races with Flash Racing, but if he's going to get a win this at all, he's got to do better than that. Thomas Duke in car number 119 marks the debut of Fortner in the Master Cup Series, currently running in 14th. The Fortner FS260 is a much underdeveloped car. However, Duke is punching way above his weight by running inside the top 15. And now, he's going to make a move on the inside of Stephanie McGlynn, showing that passing on this track is not impossible with these tire compounds. And he's going to make a run down in turn 1, and he's going to eventually clear McGlynn and have a run up the hill. Or a couple of S-bends that resemble the hill at Decatur a lot. Here we go further back in the field on the end of the beginning of lap 3. This is Brian Sendak. He's qualified way in the back. He's got one of the fastest cars all weekend, but all of his teammates qualified inside the top 5, whereas Sendak did not even come close. So Sendak's streak of bad luck continues. Here's the running order at the end of lap 3. Devereaux is in the lead, then Drew Eisenman, Roderick, Ethan Everett, Tony Durbin, Marcus Leonard, Alexis Rainsford, Kakinen. Ian Cooper is in 9th. David Krikorian, Tenshi, Stoidler, Duke, McGlynn, Pliskin, Nasova, Hodges, Scott Bates, the 2 of Redlich, then Alonso Tosia, Duff, Sendak, Taylor, Kazuyama, the 39 of Keniston, and the 17 of Roswell, the top 25. We're on board with Yamino Tenshi in the 831. Tenshi having a very quiet start to the season, but she has done very well in her limited experience in these cars. Currently running just outside the top 10. Very good run for Tenshi. Both of her teammates didn't qualify well, but they plan to use pit strategy to make up for it. We're going to now look a little further back with Danny Savin in car number 91. He's had a disastrous weekend all around, and his disaster is going to be compounded by the engine grenading on lap 5. And this does raise some worries because he's using the same engine that Adrian Devereaux is using, and Devereaux is leading the race. You'll also notice Dan Rosenstretter has caught up to the field right there. Rosenstretter's been pulling out some good laps, and he's actually managed to make up for that little fracas turn 1. Here's Ian Cooper in the 777 car, leading the Team EFR Brigade, and judging by his performances last year, I don't think anyone would have predicted this. Right behind him, you notice David Krikorian in car number 9, a driver who I think is overdue for some big success. as is Dan Klezel, but he's running for the Independence Trophy, so he's got his own reason to push really hard and shine. Klezel's performances in 2009 were a complete disaster. So, Klezel is going to be running for the Independence Trophy with his own team. They planned to show up for Japan, didn't, but they're having a fairly good run here in Australia. As is Zelda Ashby, who has been performing much better in 2010 than she did in 2009. Ashby currently running in the middle of the field, hunting down the rest of the field in her JD Predator. The car in front of her is Dale Roswell in the number 17 car. Lap 13, and Adrian Devereaux is still pulling a very large lead over Drew Eisenman, but the 31 car appears to be better than the 26 later in the runs. The 4 of Roderick appears to be falling back ever so slightly. Here we come up the hill. You'll see Roderick losing a little bit, and so is Eisenman. This appears to be the part of the track where Devereaux is a little better than the other cars out there. We're going to see coming into the long bending turn in the back straight. But Devereaux does appear to have a faster car on this particular lap. Here we are on lap 14, one lap after that, and Devereaux in car number 26 is going to be one of the first cars in the lead pack to make a green flag pit stop. However, Stuart Sandoval is the first car to pit. Oh, hello, Tony Durbin. Durbin was not too happy about this and asked the officials to investigate whether or not Sandoval had tried to chop him off, despite being a lap down at this point. Sandoval has been doing okay in the Corsa. He's put up some very respectable performances, but nothing stellar. Now we're going to have a look at everyone else entering the pit lane. One lap after Devereaux, Eisenman is in, Roderick is in, Everett is coming in, there's Tony Durbin, Marcus Leonard, Arto Kekkonen, pretty silent day for Arto, Stoidler and Duke, McGlynn, Kurt Pliskin in the 16, Alan Hodges, Scott Bates, Zach Duff, Brian Sendak in the 8, then Matt Taylor, Leon Keniston, Dale Roswell, Gary Edwards, Dan Klezel. And the 839 and 837 Star Team Nemoto cars decided to roll the dice and stayed out one extra lap. That's Azuma Kazuyama, who's now leading the race, and Tom Delgado in the 837. These two cars, as I mentioned earlier, the teammates of Yamino Tenshi, qualified way in the back, but appeared to be using pit strategy to make up position. Zelda Ashby in the 55 was following suit. Now here's some interesting collisions on pit lane, and we're about to see what the stewards thought of that. There you go. Officialdom apparently not liking collisions in the pit lane. Leonid Roderick in car number 4 has something go wrong on the pit stop. The car is not firing, and you're going to see everybody else go right on by Roderick. He had third. He was at third place on the track. But this is what happens when you don't have a car that's reliable enough to make the whole distance. Look at how many positions he is losing on the pit lane. There goes Anthony Evans, who's way in the back. There is Woody Watts, who's also running towards the rear of the field, as is Chris Johans. Then goes Stephanie McGlynn, Gary Edwards. Leon Kennison's left the pits. Here comes Roderick. And you want to know how far back he is? Well, there you go. Adrian Devereaux just put Roderick one lap down. This is a race that's already going to seem long for Roderick, because not only is he a lap down, but this car of his is probably not going to make the distance at the rate that it's going, but still a long way to go, and hopefully Roderick will be able to make the finish, but it doesn't look too likely if the car is going to have that many mechanical problems on each pit stop. Now here's the running order after the first cycle of pit stops. Devereaux is in the lead. Drew Eisenman is going to come by in second, then Alexis Rainsford, Tony Durbin, Marcus Leonard. David Krikorian has made up a bunch of spots in the pit lane. Yamino Tenshi, Scott Stoidler, Ian Cooper, and Kurt Plisk in the top 10. Then Franz Redlick, Alan Hodges, Alonso Tosia in the Corsa, then Duff, Azuma Kazuyama, Matt Taylor, Yulia Nasova, Thomas Duke, Scott Bates, and Tom Delgado are the top 20. Alexis Rainsford has been the queen of the road courses in the Master Cup Series in the past. That is apparently holding true. She's currently running third, and looks like Alexis is just not completely on the game, or that her pit crew is a little bit not on the game, because she lost a lot of ground in the pits to this man, Tony Durbin. And we all know about how well Alexis Rainsford and Tony Durbin get along with each other now, do we? The 2007 Series champion has found it hard on road courses in the past, but today he is performing marvelously. Here's Kurt Pliskin's 16 car, blowing up while running in 10th. Looks like Kurt Pliskin and Power Steering Incorporated just cannot catch a break this early in 2010, which has been quite the surprise, seeing as Pliskin proved his worth last season and had several very strong drives. Here's Adrian Devereaux coming into the pits for the second round of pit stops. And we're going to see who else pits with him. Waiting. There comes David Krikorian, the first car to pit with Devereaux. They're in Yumino Tenchi running. Those cars were 6th and 7th on the track. Alan Hodges running a little outside the top 10. Alonso Tosia in the Corsa. And back to Drew Eisenman in the 31 car. The little bubble thing's blue for some reason. And he's going to pit one lap after Devereaux, along with Alexis Rainsford and Tony Durbin. And just about everybody else, except for Marcus Leonard and apparently the 2 Starnamoto cars. Franz Redlich pits with them. Zach Duff in the 28. A couple other cars going by. Those cars apparently had already pitted. It's Dan Kleslow in the 493. Here's Lance Andrews. Been pitting much later than everyone else. Whoa! Alexis Rainsford giving him a little bit of a surprise there. Alexis not backing down. You see we've got a pretty good battle. It's not even for position, but knowing Alexis Rainsford and Lance Andrews and how they've raced in the past, not with each other, but just in general, neither one of them are going to be backing down, and see Lance Andrews' fighting spirit. There's McGlynn having a collision with Gary Edwards in the pits, and we're about to see what McGlynn thinks of that. Coming out of the pits, turns Gary Edwards and herself into the wall over there, and then she just runs into the door of the 20 car. One of the major controversies of the race was Stephanie McGlynn versus Gary Edwards right there. We're about to have another look at that. It appeared to be just a pit road accident, but apparently Stephanie McGlynn was not in the mood. Just runs into the side of the 20 car, and, well, I'm going to see what the officials think of that in just a moment. There you go. I don't think that's going to turn out too favorably for Stephanie McGlynn, but it looks like Gary Edwards is doing a good job of blocking David Krikorian back there. Tom Delgado in the 837 is going to show us how not to enter the pits when he just nabs the little tire wall over there. The running order after the second round of pit stops, Adrian Devereaux still in the lead. Then it is the 31 of Drew Eisenman. Tony Durbin got ahead of Alexis Rainsford in the pits. David Krikorian's moved up to 5th, then Yumino Tenchi, Scott Stoidler, Marcus Leonard, Ian Cooper, and Alan Hodges, the top 10. And then outside the top 10 is Alonso Tosia, the 839 of Kazuyama Nasoba in the 7, Tom Delgado, Scott Bates, the top 15 cars, with Zelda Ashby and Dale Roswell tagging on to them, along with the 44 of Lewis Kingston, who's having a solid run. Here's David Krikorian in car number 9. He's been a little overdue for a good run, and a lot of people have said that DK really needs to pick up his performances or he may not last the whole season in this 9 car. Apparently after someone lit that fire under him, he's apparently picked up the pace. He's running a very strong race. And now we're about to see what happens when you wear your left side tires a little too much, as Devereaux is sliding around all over the place. But the Frenchman's very chaotic driving style appears to be matching these compounds very well, because nobody has been able to put up a challenge to him on the pits or on the track, most importantly. So Devereaux very clearly dominating this race, but remember, Danny Salva and his teammate blew up earlier in the race. Looks like Gary Edwards is going to get himself into some more issues, this time with the other French driver, Jacques Bouvier. Bouvier tries to pass. Edwards goes to block. Both cars go off the track. Bouvier goes out of the race. Not quite sure why. He doesn't really get any damage from this incident, but apparently there were some other issues with the car, and the 59 ended up pulling out of the race after this. There's the 20 of Edwards. We're going to watch Bouvier. He's going to make a little bit of an aggressive move to the left as Edwards tries to block to the right. And then Bouvier, looks like Edwards just runs the 59 car off the track, but takes himself with. The officials, for some reason, did not decide to penalize either driver or call them to the hauler afterwards. In the closing stages of the race, Drew Eisenman would make a very valiant attempt to catch Adrian Devereaux. The Frenchman's car appeared to be having issues, and he was dropping off the pace a little bit, and Drew Eisenman in the 31 was beginning to reel him in. However, there's one thing that Drew Eisenman was lacking, and that was going to be time. It didn't look like he'd be able to make up time, but after this really slow lap from Devereaux, it looked like Eisman might have a shot to go with just a few laps to go. But there's one thing he was lacking, like I said before, and that's time. Adrian Devereaux would cruise on to take his first Master Cup Series victory so early in his career. Devereaux scores up win number 1. Drew Eisenman in second, Tony Durbin in third, Alexis Rainsford fourth, Marcus Leonard a very solid top 10 run. He's got top 10s in both races so far. Yamino Tenchi in the 831 car, a fantastic 7th place. Scott Stoidler puts the Treadwell in the top 10. Azuma Kezuyama recovers a burn from the stern, and then Matt Taylor, the 2004 TM Master Cup Series champion, puts the number 12 Delano Gaznia Dragoon inside the top 10. A fantastic run for the Majestic Motorsports driver this early in the season. And here are the top 10 in the point standings. You'll notice that Alexis Rainsford still sits on top, and Drew Eisenman sits in second, 6 points out of first. Then Tony Durbin sits third, and how about fourth place? Marcus Leonard in the JD Predator for Power Steering Incorporated. Nobody would have predicted that this early in the season. Arto Kekkonen didn't have a very good run here in Australia. He slid through the field after some very subpar pit work, ended up finishing 21st or so. Adrian Devereaux jumps up to 6th in the points. Yamino Tenchi in 7th. Franz Redlich drops to 8th. Scott Stoidler in 9th. And the Welshman Alan Hodges rounds out the top 10. Here is 11 through 20. Stuart Sandoval in the Corsa. Lewis Kingston in his Inglesby. Matt Taylor jumps up to 13th. Dale Roswell, his teammate, sits 14th. Azuma Kazuyama has got to be feeling great about this so far. He's in 15th. Leonard Roderick, after a disastrous race in Australia, in 16th. Rachel Rainsford goes down to 17th. Yulia Nasova jumps up to 18th. A solid beginning of the season for the Katsev team. Scott Bates and Ian Cooper, the two Team EFR teammates, very close together in 19th and 20th. And here are the Independence Trophy standings. Cyrus Laterza still on top on 81 points. Thomas Duke sits in second on 54. Dan Klezel in third on 38. And of course, Palmer Stiles, Legurel, Justin Brooks, and Ali Riggs all have one attempt, and all have all have DNQs. In Justin Brooks' case, he has already used 2 DNQs, so he better hope that he makes the next 4 races if he wants a legitimate shot at winning the Independence Trophy for 2010.